Hello, folks. Today is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024, only one day after the 60th birthday of Keanu Reeves. My name is Tudor Vladov, and I'm back with the 35th episode of Keeping It Realistic, a show in collaboration in Chaos during which we do the following. We take a look at some recent news, announcements, tutorials, but also interesting upcoming events evolving around Chaos. We discuss topics relevant to the group and the visualization field as a whole. And last but certainly not least, of course, we review some of your works posted in the time span of those 2 weeks between two episodes of the show. Today, however, we won't be doing the last step. We won't be doing any reviewing at all. Instead, we will be talking about the current state of the group and the show, and also discussing some ideas about their both future. And I would ask you to please be very active and participate in those discussions. This is also the reason why I tagged you. I know that this function can actually be very, very annoying, but we try to not overuse it. We actually take advantage of it only for when we do surveys, so that we reach more of you, so that we get a more representative answer by the end of the survey, or when there are some nice things to announce, as it is the case with today's special edition of the show. And generally speaking, though, we do keeping it realistic, but also the Chaos Campus live show, or Mike's or Viz Academy's show as live sessions, so that you can actively participate in those, voice your opinion, ask questions, suggest something new, or simply say hi. So yeah, use this option, please, and be active. It's very, very much appreciated. And with this out of the way, hello, everyone. Welcome once again. I see you're already here saying hi. Abdi, Amit, Fatia, Helen is here. Kama, Irina, Katzpa. Hello, folks. I'm very happy to see you. I'm very happy that we're getting to hang out again after a month, because, the show happens on a bi weekly base. But 2 weeks ago, we didn't have a show because Keeping It Realistic was on a small vacation, or I was on a small vacation. So yeah, it's been 4 weeks since we last hung out together, and I'm happy that we're doing it once again now. I hope you had a good month of August. I hope you enjoyed your time in my absence. To be honest with you, I didn't have this whole month as a free time. Actually, from all of these 4 weeks, I only had one as a real vacation. Everything else was just work. For some reason, I'm always the busiest during the summer months, but it is as it is. I don't want to complain. Anyway, Irina says, "Hi Theo, I missed the show. I missed you too. Honestly, I did. My actual free week that I just told you about was the week of where the show should have happened 2 weeks ago. And as Tuesday came around the corner, I was sitting there and thinking that I miss you guys. But I was also happy that I'm having some free time as well. I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, today, as I said, we will be mostly talking and discussing and hanging out together. It will be a less casual show. Not that the usual shows are too formal, but this one should really be casual. So feel free to talk and share your thoughts and everything. And without any further ado, I will actually show myself, start sharing my screen, and we'll just start by with the campus news for the day. Ahmed joined us. He says, "Hi, how are you?" I'm fine, thank you, Ahmed. How about you? How have you been? You're being very, very active, but what I saw about you is that you now have discovered Inkscape for yourself. This came as a surprise, I gotta admit, but your latest works with Inkscape are really, really good. Mario joined us. He says, "Hey Theo, am I on time?" Yes, you are. As far as I know, it's pretty early or something like this, where you are, dear Mario. So I really appreciate that you decided to join. Danushka is also here. Hi, Theo. Hi, guys. Hi, folks. It's really awesome that so many of you are here today and that you're being so active. So, back to the news. Let's check the Chaos event calendar. Now, we already talked about most of what you see here. Chaos is still very much on tour. We know a lot of this We already discussed them in the beginning of July. The D2 conference happened last week. It was also among the events here. Did some of you actually attend this? And if so, did you like it? I still haven't read anything, no feedbacks whatsoever, but I assume that, as always, people are very, very happy with this awesome event. But again, if you have been there, gladly share your experience in the comments. So yeah, if you want to find past events such as the D2 conference, you can just use this button down here. Again, other than that, we already talked about this. Chaos is in the United Kingdom, in Germany, and the USA. However, there are some new dates that we see here. It's September 12th, 2024. Chaos and Creative Lighting are in Milan. So it is a similar event to the one that I visited in March this year, which was a mix of the Archviz workshop with Nikos at noon, starting at noon till the late afternoon, followed by a Chaos Unboxed event in the evening. In this case, in my case, it was in Berlin. Here it is in Milan. But talking about Berlin, there will be another Chaos Unboxed event, this time all without the Archviz workshop with creative lighting on September 19th. So if you're somewhere in the area, make sure to check it out. What's also interesting, and it's something that I think also was included later, is this chaos being at the Rhino User Meeting Berlin 2024. Marcella joined us, my mom. Hi. The Rhino User Meeting is something very, very interesting. And as a former Rhino user, I actually have to admit that I didn't know it existed, but it sounds very, very awesome. I may be Max with Corona, but it doesn't matter. Corona V-Ray, what matters is Max in this case. I may be a Max user now, but I used to be a Rhino user for 7 years out of my career. And I still very much love Rhino because to me, it is this mix of CAD software and a 3D modeling software. And I thoroughly enjoy working with it. It may not be, at least according to my personal opinion, it may not be the best tool out there for architectural visualization, especially exteriors, but it's when it comes to project design or a project visualization, jewelry and stuff like this, it is absolutely awesome in combination with V-Ray. So Rhino is great, and this meetup will also probably be pretty cool, I assume. Fletson joined us. Hello, man. Later in this show, I will show an example of your work or your descriptions at least. So be prepared. I hope you stay for so long. Okay, I think we have seen enough of the calendar here. So let's move on to another important date that I want to remind you about, or another important topic. It is the grand finale of the RV's masterclasses, the competition that I have already presented to you within the limits of the show. I hope you remember. Now, this competition has its official site under Chaos, where you can find all the informations needed. This site, this web address, I already shared in the group a few days or weeks ago. I cannot remember precisely, but there you can get all the information needed. Let me once again just remind you about it and what it's all about. What you need to do here, the task of the competition, is to choose a client from as a popular character from any film or TV series. In the second step, analyze them, then create mood boards based on the analysis. And in the fourth and last step, you need to create a bedroom design, and you need to submit two final images out of this bedroom, two different moods out of it. And of course, the bedroom design should be based on what you have done in the previous steps. And I think this is one really interesting competition topic. And it is also one that will very much prepare you for your work as a professional. I myself actually wanted to participate, and if you still haven't started and you think, well, I won't be able to do it, I think you will, because deadline is on September 16th, so in almost 2 weeks. And this isn't like this huge project that you need to invest weeks in. You can do this in literal days, and by achieving a very great final result. I absolutely believe in that. And as I told you, I myself wanted to participate. I already had two very different ideas for my client. and I had organized my schedule for the next 2 weeks in a way that would make it possible for me to participate. Unfortunately, or up to a certain degree, unfortunately, because we actually have to be happy when we get work. But unfortunately, last week, a new project came around the corner that I have to submit exactly on September 16th. So I now will be working on that project instead of the competition. But it is as it is. But with you, I think that you can still make it, even if you haven't started at all. It's very, very interesting. And what you can win out of this competition is really good stuff. So you can win a chaos license of choice and also a one-to-one coaching opportunity with Nikus. And both of those are very great prizes, if you ask me. So don't waste the chance to at least try and win them. Okay, enough about this. Then let's take a just brief look at Corona 12 hotfix 1 being out for, I'd say, 3 weeks already, or four almost. It's maybe a bit of an old news, but maybe some of you haven't heard about it. And by the way, if something like this comes out, a new version or a hotfix or something, if you want to know more what the exact ingredients, contents of it are, and what the changes are, then you can find those informations in the Corona forum. And I hope that every one of you who is a Corona user knows about this forum, because it's a great place of information. If I go back here, you will see that there are different categories, so official stuff, news, and things like this. Also, Chaos Corona for 3ds Max and for Cinema 4D, where you can get a lot of help if you have any issues from other users. And of course, here is also the gallery. And the gallery is the one that you need if you are a Corona user, if you're very happy with the way your last work turned out and you want to share it, hoping that the Corona marketing team or social media team will share it, then this is where you need to share your work. You just need to make a new thread, or you need to log in, make a new thread, then share all the images in the best resolution possible, and also share your social media credentials. And then if your work happens to be chosen, they will take all the images and your credentials from this gallery. So this is something that I think you need to know. And again, when it comes to news and stuff like this, like the what's in the hotfix one for 3ds Max and Cinema 4D, this is where you also will find this type of information. Okay, now let's take a look at two articles. First one being "What is 3D visualization main benefits and use cases" by Ricardo Eloy. You know him very well from CG Architect. Now, regarding this article, it's actually pretty interesting. What it does, it mentions very different, lots and lots of different aspects of the visualization field, which is great, including topics such as the importance of choosing or picking up the right 3D visualization, the 3D modeling and rendering software, which, by the way, is a topic that we did a survey on in August, and that I will present the results of later in the show. But yeah, if you scroll here, you'll see that it is fragmented in a lot of short topics. And some of you may think that this is more oriented towards beginners. And while this might be true, I wouldn't completely agree with this, because when you spend a lot of time in a certain area, let's say you're a very skilled 3D artist, it is very easy to get lost in details and start missing the big picture. And you see this sometimes with artists that are actually very, very skilled, very, very good. Sometimes you see them visualize a newly established, fully new building that is just being built, and then you see tons of leakages and weathering and discolorings and all of those effects, dirt and so on, that look great and they've been pulled off in a great way, but in the end of the day, they simply don't suit what the artist was supposed to do. Because if I am a potential client, somebody who wants to buy an apartment in this newly established building, and on the visualization of said newly building, I already see leakages and dirt and it looks like it's molding, then I wouldn't feel like buying something in it. So it's important that what we do here isn't to show off our skills, but it's the creative support of, for our clients, which is to help them sell an idea or sell apartments or whatever. And an article like this easily helps get back on track with this. But if you still say, well, this is too new for me, I want something more advanced, well, then maybe check out this second article called "A Concept Artist's Journey: Rethinking Workflow with Vantage." It tells the story of Armando Savoia, who is an Italy-based artist who is very experienced as concept artist in film, but who also for the last 15 years has been doing still images with V-Ray. And honestly, reading through this, it is very similar to my own story because I'm also a still image artist. I never do animations. I always try to avoid them because I find making animations pretty tedious and difficult. Let's be honest here, we're keeping it realistic. It's tedious, it's difficult, so this is why I try to avoid it. Instead, I make more still shots. However, since Vantage is out, and now that it also, at least partially, is supported by Corona, and I got my hands on it and started experimenting around a bit, I must admit that working with Vantage or animating with Vantage is really, really so easy that it also makes me want to do it as well. And this is exactly what happened with Armando here. He just started experimenting with that software. And as you can see, those types of animations here aren't especially sophisticated or elaborate. It's just a simple camera movement, but it definitely feels different than the still images these artists and I myself usually do. So, yeah. And of course, we're talking here about animations and movies, so we definitely need to talk about ray tracing for the win. I think you must have seen this one by now. I hope you have. So, of course, it's a major showcase of Project Arena. We have talked about it multiple times already in this group, but it's also featuring this, how should I call it, prominence of the world of 3D and visual effects, including Chris Nichols, who's the director of the Chaos Labs, and even Vlado Kolazov himself. So this is awesome, and I think we can just take a moment to enjoy this one together. Just please let me know if you also hear the sound or not.
Wilder than you've ever seen it before. A nightmare landscape where visual effects are disposable.
Good God, an RTX 6000.
And tech bros are taking over Hollywood.
Get him, boys!
Thrill as three admittedly handsome heroes get Hollywood to take it right back.
I see.
Stealing from the past.
Close encounters. Trumbull!
And giving hell to the future.
Green screen is dead!
Christopher Nichols.
What can I get you? 3 giant martinis.
Daniel Thrawn. And Eric Sheely.
We'll fix it in post. We'll fix it in post.
With Vladimir Koylazov, Marcos Fajardo, and introducing Scott Ross as Dakota Joe.
I told you so.
Ray tracing for the win.
These boys are trying to change Hollywood.
This is, to me at least, this is absolutely amazing. Probably the only movie that I would be hyped for this year. It's, I don't know how it turns out. I don't know what it is. If it's just a, a marketing strategy, if it's going to be a full length movie or something which is around 20 minutes or something. I don't know. But I must say that I thoroughly enjoyed seeing this. I've probably watched it 10, 15 times already, and to me it never gets old. I just like seeing those people. I like seeing what they're doing. I like seeing Project Arena in action after seeing it live in Sofia. So yeah, definitely hyped for this one. Amit says, if an animation project arises with you, Theo, do you go for cloud rendering, Rebus Farm, or local rendering on your desktop, or would you outsource it to some of your friends and share the price of the project at the end? The latter. I have done this already. I just outsource it because, um, I don't think that one needs to be good at everything, and I just don't have the patience to work with animations, and this is why I usually outsource it and leave somebody else do it, and they get, of course, most of the money, and I just get a small share for supervising the work. Of course, animation, I know it's a difficult process. At least it was before Vantage came around the corner for me, for my own knowledge. So yeah, I just don't even try to do it. I have tried a few with Rhino back then, but these were very, very, very simple. But for a client, I will just immediately outsource. That's the way it is. Nothing wrong with that, though. I mean, but once again, now that we have Vantage, I really will try to get into animation because it's just so easy. At least what I have seen with trying to switch between two cameras and stuff like this, camera movement, it's just made so incredibly easy that even for somebody who has the way of thinking like I do is still convinced to try it out. It says, thanks for the clarification. You're very welcome. As I said, we're hanging out today. We're talking. You see, I tried to rush through this official part in the beginning of the show so that we get to the part where we talk more. But once again, you're always invited to share your opinions or thoughts or ask questions, even while we're in this more official part of the show about the news and the learning and so on. Konstantinos joined us. Hey man, right on time because I will now be talking about your webinar, or at least mentioning it. But now, just to briefly show you this, I show it in almost every show, but if you want to know new stuff, announcements, but tutorials, news, and all of this around Chaos, just check the official Chaos Facebook page, and you'll see lots of really cool stuff here. The page is very, very active. There is always new stuff. Every time I come over, there is something new to look at. You see here there is a Vantage tutorial, a small one, then the announcement, then now Chaos partners with Scandic Sofa, so that we'll be getting some new furniture assets in the Chaos Cosmos library. Here, the trailer that we just saw, the articles that we just talked about. So here is a ton of stuff. Just check it out. This is really a very, very good source of, let's say, cool information around Chaos. The same way the Chaos Docs is a good way of technical information around the Chaos project. Mike, hello, man. Glad to see you today here. Okay, let's move on. Konstantinos just joined us, and let's talk about the two tutorials that he shared with us in recent times during August. First one was this webinar that happened last um, Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was this weekend on Sunday, and it was about modeling this chaise longue sunbed that you see here from scratch, and it was really good one. I was there. We talked in the comments. At some point, he started doing something in a certain way, which I thought was not the way that I would approach it. So I asked him in the comments why he's doing it like this and not like that, because something like this I would have done with shape, boolean, and or splines, but he decided to do it out of a plane with editable poly and turbo smooth, and he very nicely reacted to this. Which was really really great. I very much appreciate when something like this happens, when somebody is reactive and doesn't just pull off his webinar and then call it a day. So this was awesome. And Mike says, you look good and your sound is much better. I watched this webinar and I think it was quite nice. But there is a part where, oh, he says, Lo, I was about to say that, yeah, probably this part, Mike would have done it my way. But again, this is the cool thing about such webinars. You see different approaches. Maybe some are more popular than others, as it seems in this case. But again, there is nothing wrong with this one as well. Just the final outcome wasn't very, very clean. But nevertheless, it was an awesome webinar, and there will be a second part of it, which will actually show the animation or a breakup of the animation that you see in the beginning, which is, by the way, very, very nice. I really like those animated shadows here and the animated water surface. So yeah, and one general topic, because again, we're keeping it realistic. We're just talking here today. Why was I there? Sometimes I have these talks with my mom where she says, "You know what? You're spending way too much time in these groups. In this group, it makes you look like you have nothing else to do." And I always argue with her that I don't believe that you guys see it this way. Because I think that by now you should know I'm not, the regular basement dweller that has nothing else going in his life, and the only my whole life revolves around the group. I have my own studio and my own commercial works. I have my kids, two small kids at home to take care of, and also my private life, my wife, my hobbies, and so on. So this definitely isn't the case that I don't have anything else to do. It's just that I really like this community. I believe in it, and I think that doing stuff for it is something which pays off, and something which is also appreciated. And Mike says, "Mom, let me live my life. I'm not 12 anymore." No, this is not the case. Of course, she means it nice, and I know what she means, because if somebody is like there the whole time, people get easily can get confused with this person not having anything else to do. I fully understand this. But in my personal case, if I spend more time in the group, then I work longer in the evenings to compensate for the time spent in the group. It's just that, also the weekends, I am never active in the group. Weekends for me are always family time. But in this specific case, I made an exception to be there for Konstantinos, because even though, of course, this is part of his, let's say, marketing strategy for Mesh Mastery to make it more popular, in the end of the day, it is still something he does for the community, that the community profits from, and we all. So it's always great to support such things, and this is why I made an exception. And instead of spending time with my kids, for example, I was there for the duration of this webinar to support him. And yeah, I cannot ask you to do the same, but I could say that I think every time you would decide to do it, it would be very, very appreciated. Abdi says, "If they only knew how long we sleep." Mike says, "Anytime my family members or friends tell me they watched or read what I did, it's such a lovely moment for me. Bless your mom." Yeah, she's here. So she's don't jinx it. I just woke up. Yeah, okay. This is an answer to Abdi. Anyway, enough about this webinar and about the community. Let's move on to this small reel, or this small quick tutorial that Konstantinos also shared. It's about how to make or how to quickly mask PNG files in order to create an opacity map, and then shadows like what we just saw, or you can also use it on 2D people as well. And by the way, what Konstantinos shows here, I may pause it in the right moment, this here is actually a very, very smart workflow. If you decide, especially if you're working on interiors and you decide that you want some more interesting and lively looking shadows for your interiors, instead of taking a heavy 3D tree, you can actually use a 2D cutout like this and still create very great looking shadows. And of course, this way you'll be saving resources and your rendering will be quicker compared to a workflow where you use actual 3D trees. So yeah, pretty good stuff. Talking about short tutorials, we'll start one with one by Abdi that he shared some time ago. It's about how an Illustrator to 3ds Max tutorial, or how to create 3D models from vector graphics and import them into Max. It's only 6 minutes, which is untypical for Abdi. You may also know him as AS Art 3D and Motion Graphics, but it's actually a quick one and it works the way it is. Here you see him having his logo as a vector graphic, and what he does, he uses the 3D function of Illustrator to turn this 2D graphic into an actual 3D object. And this object he later exports to 3ds Max. And as you can see, the topology, the imported topology, is actually more than decent. And this is pretty great. Like now, object like this one, you can actually easily model in 3ds Max yourself. However, when it gets more complicated with 3D lettering, for example, something like this, then it would actually much better and easier to just take the other road and make it over Illustrator, make the 3D object there, and then export it over to 3ds Max. And here you see an example of this, how he does this, and also how he even uses this topography, which is really good in the end to do a very cool fluid simulation. So very nice workflow. I myself must admit I didn't know about it. So to me, thumbs up, very good tutorial. And one very fresh one again by Abdi. This was added yesterday in the group by him. It's 3ds Max tutorial with Chaos Phoenix called Backyard Pond Waterfall, and it's about how to do a liquid simulation of flowing water, including foam, in Phoenix and 3ds Max. And it's actually amazing if you take a look at, let me take a look at this one. Just take a look at this simulation. Take a look at the natural and organic way this water is flowing down, the way the foam is building up here. It just looks so natural and realistic. Obviously, this type of tutorial with Phoenix, the video is longer and it's a more complex one. It's advanced knowledge, I would call it. But nevertheless, typical for Abdi, everything is clearly and understandably explained so that you can still follow along. And of course, as usual, thanks to Abdi and Konstantinos for tutorials like this, and thanks to everyone else who is providing the community with such awesome knowledge, and especially for free. So, Abdi says, thank you very much for mentioning them, much appreciated. It's always my pleasure, Abdi. This is what you're doing here is really great. And the final outcome and what you're teaching, you're not just showing off, you're actually teaching us how to do those things. And even if we don't need them immediately, we later know where to find them. I see I have forgotten to give you a like. So now it is time to do so. And it's always a pleasure to listen to this because you can actually teach, you explain everything very methodically, and it's easy to follow, even though some of the topics are actually quite advanced. At least to people like me who were never into Phoenix or Tyflow or things like this. So this is awesome. Thank you very much. So with this, I think we are at the end of the official news and learning section, and it's probably time to take a look at our topics. First one being the tech survey that we did in the month of August. It was a survey consisting of 3 questions revolving around the technical aspects of your workflows within the group, of course. It's unofficial. There are no marketing goals or something behind it. It's just me trying to better understand the group and better understand you and your needs. And the final results, of course, I always try to summarize and get back to you so that you can have a status quo of how things are looking like in the group. Abdi says, it is my pleasure. Hopefully those are helpful to the members. Thanks again. You're very welcome, dear Abdi. Okay, let's take a look at the single questions and talk a bit about them. So first, the first question, which render engine do you use? We see at the front we have Corona and V-Ray with the same amount of percentages and votes. It was literally the exact same amount, followed by Vantage with 13%. Now, those two aren't really surprising. Vantage with 13%, however, to me at least, is maybe not a surprise, but something I'm happy to see because, first of all, Vantage is fairly new compared with a lot of the other engines that we see here. And secondly, it's not even fully functional, so to speak, because while V-Ray has a live link to Vantage, making it more or less something like um, GPU interactive render and a very mighty one for that matter. Corona now also supports Vantage, but not in the same way as V-Ray. There is no direct link. We have to save out a VR scene and open it in Vantage. So I think that the moment Corona also has a live link to Vantage, this percentage here will definitely grow even further, probably at the cost of all of this here. Now, of course, you may say, well, of course, it's a chaos group, so the chaos render engines will be in the lead here. And this makes sense. I assume that if you make similar survey in an Unreal group, for example, that Unreal will be here at the front with like 70, 80%. That makes a lot of sense. However, if we leave those very specified groups aside and just concentrate on other communities, such as the VW Art Club, which is a group with 175,000 members, if I'm not mistaken, in which I spent a lot of time, especially last year. I was also providing feedback there to artists. And I can tell from my own observations that most of the works, especially when it comes to ArcViz and still images, were done with V-Ray and Corona. So yeah, Mario says Corona for the win. I'm also a big Corona fan. I'm still sticking with Corona. But yeah, I mean, V-Ray and Corona are actually fairly comparable nowadays, at least. As we talked during the Chaos Connect Day. Do you remember this, Mike? I think it was Tom Grimes who said that Corona is probably more about Arvis, more specialized on Arvis compared to V-Ray. At the same time, V-Ray has just a wider functionality. So yeah, that's the main difference. So it makes sense that both have the same percentage. Let's move on to the second question, which is which 3D modeling software do you use? To no surprise, more than half of the votes go to 3ds Max with 56%, and followed by SketchUp with 15%. And after that, we have Revit, Blender, Rhino, Cinema, Maya, and others. To me, the surprise here is actually the low percentage of Cinema 4D, because maybe it's just a German thing, I don't know, but I have a lot of German colleagues that are into visualization here who are Cinema 4D users and who are also very happy with this software. And I cannot quite understand why it has such a low percentage, given that also there is Corona for it as well. Um, Even Rhino has a higher percentage, which again isn't probably not the most perfect software when it comes to architectural visualization and still images and so on. But yeah, probably it's just because maybe we don't have so many people from Germany. Maybe Cinema 4D is more popular around Western Europe or something, and we don't have as many people from these areas. I don't know, but I find this percentage here to be very, very low. As for 3ds Max, again, no surprise that most people are actually using it. And once again, as I told you in the beginning, this is unofficial. It just gives you a bit of an overview on how things look like in the group. So if you are uncertain about, let's say, you want to switch software and you're not certain about if you want to go to 3ds Max because you think that maybe it's not an industry standard anymore, there are better options. At least in this group, yeah, it seems like 3ds Max still very much is an industry standard. And now let's take a look at the third and last question, which is which device do you mainly use to render your scenes? Now, again, to no surprise, more than three quarters of the answers go to a desktop PC, 15% to a laptop, 5% to cloud, so online rendering farms, and 4% to local rendering farms. Now, I think that with time, especially with better internet connections and with those cloud services getting easier and easier to use, I think that this percentage here with time will start growing, probably mostly at the expense of the local render farms and maybe with time at the expense of laptop and desktop PC usage. And as for those 15% here, I think this is a nice topic that we can discuss because from time to time, either in the Keeping It Realistic chat or directly in the Chaos Campus Facebook group, People tend to ask. They say, "I need a new machine to do my renderings on, and what type of laptop should I get?" And almost always the first answer is, "Don't get a laptop, get a desktop PC." And I very much agree with this. So if you're not completely sure that the clients you work with, or the other artists that you collaborate with, will expect from you that you work like a real freelancer, and not remotely, but you have to actually go where they are, and sit beside them, and work on their desks, or you have to often make presentations on site. I don't think that it makes sense to invest into laptops. And there are two good reasons for this. First of all, with a desktop PC, you get just more bang for your buck. So, in the beginning of my career, I told the same, that some clients will want me to go to their office and work there on their desks. So I bought a laptop, a 1,200 euro laptop. And like 99% of the time, I used it as following: on my table with external monitor attached to it, external keyboard, and external mouse. So 99% of the time, I was using this laptop as a desktop PC. And of course, this doesn't make sense, because if I had bought a desktop PC for 1,200 euro, this would have been way beefier, way stronger, which would have in turn made my work way easier as well. So yeah, with PCs, you definitely have more for your money. Nowadays, we have these ready-made configurations that you can buy online and get delivered to your home. Now, personally, I'm not the hugest fan of those. This is something that I must admit, because what they often do in such cases is they have some, let's call them, prominent components, such as a very popular graphics card like a RTX 3090, for example. And then they have some strong CPU or something like this. And some of the other important components, such as the power supply unit, for example, is not of such high level of quality as the other ones, which means that it is more eager to just die out on you at some point in future. What I personally prefer is building my own PCs. And if you now think, well, yeah, but I don't know how to, well, I also didn't, and I wouldn't say that I still know how to. But my first PC I built in 2015, and how it came to this point is because I went to a forum to ask about potential vendors that are selling ready-made PCs. And everybody there told me, "Dude, why don't you build your own PC?" And I said, "Because I can't." And I said, what do you mean you can't? There is a manual with every single component that you buy, and you just need to follow that manual. And if you do so, you definitely make it work. Simple as that. And actually, I did. And since then, I have built three PCs, and one of them I'm still using now at the moment. The other one is the one behind me. And the more difficult part, if you ask me, is getting the right configuration for your needs. And in order to do so, once again, I recommend going to a forum where there are capable people with good knowledge and expertise to them, and just being very prepared when you ask them what they can recommend. So you need to have a budget limit for this, and you need to know what exactly you want. Let's say you're doing only Corona still images, then you need a mighty CPU, or if you're doing more animations, then you need a very beefy GPU and stuff like this. And the other main advantage of um, PCs is, of course, the flexibility, because if you want to upgrade your system, you can just swap certain components instead of buying a new one, which obviously will be more expensive. For example, last December, I needed to exchange my old GPU. I had a Quadro P4000, which I had for probably 8 years or something, and it was obviously getting old, so it was time to exchange it. And I decided to go for a very, very strong RTX card. So I needed to also exchange my power supply unit as well, but it was something I did in a day, and it was easy as hell. And now I have my new components, my computer is upgraded, but I didn't spend the money on a completely new system. So yeah, this is I think everything I have to say. If you have some ideas or something else to add to what I just said, please put it in the comments. Other than that, I will just share this image with you later in the comments in the group so that you can see it whenever you want. And of course, as usual, it's up to you what to do with this type of information. It's just out there. Amit says, which RTX card do you use? I have a 4090. This is, there are, from what I've seen throughout my career, there are two types of artists. The one that update, let's say, every 2 years, and the ones that make big steps. I belong to the second group. I had the P4000 for probably 8 years, as I told you, and then I decided to invest in another beefy one, which I'll be having for the next few years. Yeah, and I'm very, very happy with it. Of course, as a Corona user back then in December, I didn't really have much out of it because Corona is entirely CPU based. So my new beefy card didn't really bring any change. However, now with Vantage, I see the difference. I don't see the difference, obviously, because it has only been this card that I have tried Vantage on, but I see how quickly everything goes with Vantage with this card. It says, "Wow, Kingly upgrade." Yeah, if you do it in such huge time slots as I do, I think it makes sense because if I now update to I don't know 2060, and then I'll need to swap it soon again. Mike says 2070 here, switching to 3080 Ti as I got one from Busted Crypto Farm. Oh, how cool! It's a GPU with a backstory. Well, that's really cool. I hope you got also a good price for it. It says I'm going to upgrade to 4070 Ti Super OC according to my budget. Well, Ti Super overclock sounds pricey, but yeah, I'm wishing you all the best with it. I hope that you said that you currently don't have an RTX card, Amit. So going for one and such a powerful one as well will definitely make it possible for you to also use Vantage, and I think you'll love it. We saw Mike, but Mike, with the 2070, your Vantage was running actually very good. I mean, I know it was a fairly simple scene, but nevertheless, it worked very, very nice. Also, considering that you were also streaming at the moment, so I'm sure that with the 3080 Ti, you just love the Vantage experience. Danushka says, haha, me too, GTX 9060 to 3070 and waiting. You're waiting, you already purchased it and you're waiting. Wow, man, I mean, I know the excitement of purchasing something like this. It's just awesome. And if you're playing computer games, you'll enjoy it too. I still haven't. I don't play computer games actually on this PC here. I played on the other one or on my mobile workstation. So yeah, I've never experienced the 1490 in this type of action, but someday I will, just for the sake of it, probably Cyberpunk or something like this. Mike continues. I did. There is a story as it came to me from Russia. To get it, I flew to Dubai. Oh, okay. This is really. I hope it was cheap because flying to Dubai extra for the card would kind of make it expensive. I can imagine, but yeah, I think it was not the only purpose of your trip there. Mike says it was great, especially during stream. Yeah, the 2070 did a great job. Streaming and rendering in real time, it was good. And three screens on. Yeah. Amit, yes, Vantage is the reason for this upgrade decision, but 4090 will be over budget for me. It was over budget for me as well. That is why I didn't have a Christmas present. But priorities. Anyway, folks, after 50 minutes, I think it's time to take a look at our special edition. I hope I didn't overpromise. It's not that I have prepared so much or something. It's just some topics that I want to discuss with you, some ideas about the show and the group. So maybe let's take a look at this. Mike says it was dirt cheap, just saving on the card paid for my tickets. Oh, okay. In this case, it makes sense. Well, I think I would say better have a beefy card and a trip to Dubai than just a beefy card, right? That's cool. Okay. In the meantime, I would try to probably switch my monitor to the one that you never actually get to see. This one. Here you see the stats of our current talk, and in the meantime, I will just open my presentation. Wait, which one do you see? Oh, you see this one and me in the corner. Well, that's okay. That's cool. Okay, so I will start my presentation. To be extremely honest with you, I didn't want to do a PowerPoint presentation for this one because it uh, kind of feels very, very formal to me. But at the same time, I couldn't figure out the better way to share or show everything that I wanted to show you without this type of presentation. So I went with it. I hope you don't mind. Again, we don't need to be formal today. It's just that this was the easiest way to show you everything I wanted to show you. Okay, so the special edition, the second main topic of today's show after the outcome of the survey. So let's take a look at what's so special about this episode. As I already told you, we'll just take a quick look back at what we achieved so far and discuss some ideas about the future of the show and the group. Monique, right on time. Happy to see you here. Okay, first of all, before we continue taking a look back and so on, let's say a digital cheers because we've been doing this for an year already. It's actually the first birthday of the show. And yeah, I'm really, really happy to celebrate it with you, with so many of you being here and so active today. Thank you very much, folks. It's been a really joyful year with you during this show. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, even though I was especially in the beginning. I was very very nervous, and I actually still am. But now it's not the whole day before; it's just the 5 minutes before the show starts. And you made it a very very pleasant experience to me, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope that we have lots of further birthdays in future. Monique says happy birthday. Danushka says yay, happy birthday from Kama. Kasper says thank you, Theo. It says thank the show is 1 year old. Wow, happy birthday, keeping it realistic. Yeah, believe it or not, the first episode aired pretty much 1 year ago on Tuesday, obviously September 5th, 2024. 2023, I'm sorry. I think you can see this. Um, Tom Grimes is here. Hello, Tom. He says happy birthday and here's to many more. Well, hopefully. Thank you very much. Yeah, you see, September 5th, 2023, it was when the first episode aired. And yeah, it was actually off to a pretty rocky start because what you see here, these 28 seconds, this was the very, very first live that we had. So what happened or what didn't happen to me, the stream simply didn't start. I couldn't understand that it started. So what you see here is me just looking dumb and trying to figure out what happened, why it wouldn't work, and slowly but steadily and surely panicking. And so, in my panic, after 28 seconds, I just stopped the stream and started a new one, but this time on my own personal page, once again, because of panic, because of a hurry. And 1 hour into this new live stream, Claudio tuned in and told me to stop and start another live back in the campus. So by the end of the very, very first episode of Keeping It Realistic, we actually had 3 videos. The first one being this 20-second uh, long one, and also the 2 1 hour long videos that I later had to download, stitch together, and re upload so that we have a decent recording of the very first session. Nevertheless, this didn't discourage us necessarily, neither me as a host nor you as an audience. And you kept showing up, I kept showing up, and here we are 1 year later going strong. And I love this. Amit says, you have been a very good parent for this show, Theo, and we all have been honest and good children of it. Oh, this is sweet. This sounds amazing. Thank you very much, Amit. Flatsons, clapping. Yeah, I actually wanted to have some birthday peripherals, but I completely forgot about those. Sorry. Simon, hey man, he says, "Happy birthday, brother. Where are we having the cake?" Yeah, I'm asking myself the same. We have a digital or virtual, whatever you want to call it, um, cake or cheers so far. But I hope that someday we actually manage to organize a meetup and then we'll have cake and drinks and everything we wish for. He says, he continues, I'm taking Kisangua, which is a traditional Angolan juice. First time I hear about it, but it sounds amazing. What is it made from? Ahmed says it is a really great community that share advanced and good collaborations, feedbacks, thoughts from group members and group admins. Happy birthday, Chaos Campus. It's not really Chaos Campus, it's just keeping it realistic. Happy birthday, but I take it. Thank you very much, Ahmed. Undanushka says, so you grew your hair for a year now. Yes, indeed. I just wanted to say this. I mean, you see, back then we had those graffiti themed cover images that obviously changed. And definitely, this isn't the only thing that changed since then. Of course, my hair changed too, as well. And also, I had a newly found love for polo shirts, but today it's very hot here, so I'm not wearing one. But I love them in the meantime. Okay, let's switch the slide and move over to this one. And yeah, let this be the title image for some of the improvements that actually matter and that happened within this 1 year since the very first episode of the show. The first one, obviously, we already mentioned this, is that the cover images now look different and they are featuring your works. This was introduced somewhere around here, if I recall it correctly. But then I went back and actually created such covers back to the very first show so that we have the visual consistency that you now see depicted here. And of course, the goal of those is, first of all, to provide every episode of the show with a unique look and feel to it. And of course, to give you folks exposure because for the cover image, I usually pick up the best three works and they are then displayed next to this seal of quality, which is the Chaos logo. And I actually often see those of you who are featured on such a triptych actually share it on social media. And this is great because this was exactly my initial thought that you'll be sharing this and people will be seeing your work next to the Chaos logo. And I think this way it will end up just looking even more legit than it already is. Mike says, "Wow, that's so cool. I will continue watching later. Need to skedaddle." Well, Mike, it was a pleasure to have you here. You can watch the recording at any point. Bye. Okay, let's take a look at some further stuff that changed. Flatson, are you still there? Because now we'll be talking about how the attitude in the whole group, in the whole community changed, starting with the way members present their works. So yeah, Flatson, I hope you don't mind that I use your work because actually the initial project description that I have provided as an example here of yours is from the 15th of May 2023. So it's in the time before the show started, and it's actually quite decent, right? So, there are often those descriptions that are just, this is my latest work, and then they drop off their images and they call it a day, which I personally really don't like much. But your example here is actually quite decent because we have a project title, we have the software combination used, but the rest is more or less self-promotional. Whereas the second example here, you see it's from the 29th of September, so it's like 3.5 weeks after the show started. Suddenly we have a very clear headline title, we have some crediting, even the software combination, and this, the best thing about it, this about part where we get some further info from you as an artist about this project. And this is of course great because detailed descriptions like this on the one side help the viewer better understand the project and if needed provide more specific and custom tailored feedback. And on the other hand, feedbacks like descriptions like this also help the artist train their presentational skills. And believe me, these are important. It's really important to be able to properly verbalize your ideas and the goals of your work. Why? For competitions, you need it definitely. For client contact, for collaborations with other artists. Let me just give you an example. In the beginning of my career, I was more or less told by clients what to do. But with time and experience, clients would just reach out to me and just give me an empty floor plan or a house with a garden without any landscaping design to it, and just tell me, just do it nicely so that it sells. And it was in the end me who had to come up with a concept. And if you are the one that has to come up with a concept, you're also the one that has to defend said concept later in front of the client or somebody else. And this is why it's great to do something like this, because this teaches you train these skills, and next time you need to do it with a client or with a collaborational partner, you're already good in it. I'll just check the comments because you're again very, very active. I see Emma is here. This is really so cool. She says, "This is so special to see. You've been at the heart of the Chaos Campus since its first days, and I'm tearing up seeing how it has all evolved. Bravo." Please don't make me tear up as well because I'm in front of the camera, dear Emma, but it was awesome to read this message from you. Thank you so much. Mario says, "Wow, 1 year already. Happy birthday, Theo. At the time, you helped me a lot with your feedback, and you still help me a lot. You've been building this community brick by brick, bro." Folks, don't make me tear up. This is really awesome. I love this feedback. Let's continue. Thank you very much. Of course, it was not only the way you or group members are describing the works, but also the quality of the works themselves that went up. Here we see, especially, of course, for those that actually decided to listen to the feedback and put in the effort to improve. And here we see such an example by Takur. So you see these two images. These are by the same artist, and the time span between those two outcomes is just 1 week. So initially, this is what Aqua posted, and then in the show, so we talked about this. Back then, the show was happening every week. So we talked about this, and the image itself isn't really bad, but it's kind of muted. The composition and lighting is unbalanced. It's not really that exciting. And then Takur got all the feedback and decided to go back and rework the scene and just take a look at what he delivered just a week later. So we have definitely better color and tonal contrasts, a clear and very balanced composition, especially through the leaves of this palm tree here, and a generally vivid and crisp looking image. And I think that we can all agree how huge of a difference there is between those two images. And of course, the reason for this is, first of all, of course, the own work put in by the artist, but secondly, the feedback that they have gotten so they know what to improve on. And Takur definitely is not an exception. There are many examples from the group. I don't want to show you all of them. Um, I can mention some of them like Georgi, Seraphim, Monique. Georgi, I think we all remember this one because this was probably one of the first case studies, so to speak. He had this initial scene, which was already pretty cool, but it was unbalanced. It had some issues. And after he got the feedback from the show, this is what he delivered soon after, even with some versions of it. And it's great. And if we want to have a more recent example, Monique, who is in the comments, this is an image she uploaded, I think, in April, if I'm not mistaken. And this is one from July. So what you see here, it's more or less the same color scheme, but two entirely different images, with the second one, the newer one, being so much better. It's vivid, it's cool, it's just a pleasure to look at. And let's see what she says herself about this. Thank you. I improved this much because of this group and reflecting from the feedbacks I got from my previous posts. It's really amazing to be a part of this community. Thank you in return, dear Monique, because putting down something like this is always appreciated. It's very motivating to everybody because it wasn't only me who has provided you with feedback, also others that are here. We'll talk about this in a minute. have been there for you to provide you with feedback. And this is why, and of course, your own hard work made it possible that you go from here to here just in the span of 4 months. That's impressive. Now let's take a look at something else that improved, and it's the general activity of the group. According to numbers, to official numbers and insights that we have as admins, we have more posts, we have more comments, more discussions and reactions happening as well, and we also have generally a better reach. And I think that this high activity in turn motivated some members to feel like contributing more and more, and one great example is Abdi, again as Art 3D and Motion Graphics code in the group, who started this tutorial series called Tyflow for Archviz just because he was inspired and motivated by the activity and the community that we have in this group. And let's hear what he says or what he writes here. Here we are with the part 5 of the tutorial series Tyflow for Archviz. This tutorial was inspired by a fantastic suggestion from Amit Kedia. Amit is in the comments now, who requested this specific topic during the last Keeping It Realistic live show hosted by Todor Vladov on this group. Thank you, Abdi, for uh, mentioning Amit and also the show and myself. It's great, and also it's great what you are doing, and that you also reacted to a suggestion by a group member. Of course, Amit is not just a group member; he's one of the most active ones. But still, you just listened to what people actually need, and you reacted to this. And I found that this is awesome. And in my personal opinion, things like this can only happen in an active community, in a real community. Something like this doesn't happen in one of those groups where you just drop your images and call it a day, because there is no reason for that. And of course, talking about community and motivation and giving back, I gotta say that more and more group members started showing willingness to help and support fellow artists by providing them with constructive criticism. Just to name a few, I'll start with Amit, of course, because I think that we can all agree that he has been probably the most active one. You have been, Amit, you're in the comments now, one of the most active contributors of constructive feedback and criticism, and I really love this. But I also have to mention Danushka, Mario, Jane, Manuel, Abdi, Chris, Tilina, Kacper, Simon, Abderrahman, Daniel, Georgi. Of course, there are so many. I won't be able to mention you all, but at least wanted some of you to hear your names and to know that you are appreciated, because yeah, what you're doing here is what turns this group into an actual community. And it's not only the people who comment in the group itself, there is also the Keeping It Realistic chat, where often immediate feedback or answers are provided to those who have a quick question or maybe need a quick opinion. This also works greatly. And yeah, this makes me really, really proud. And I can wholeheartedly say that the Chaos Campus isn't just the next online gallery or render archive like many, many groups out there are. It is, to me, it is an actual community of creatives that I am personally really honored and proud to be a part of. And all of you that are here today should be this too. Amit says, thank you, Theo and Abdi and all the other friends who really help us day in, day out, and it really feels special and listened to. That's the point. That's the goal. This is, how often during these Keeping It Realistic shows I have said that we need to work towards becoming a community instead of just, the next group. So yeah, of course, all of this good stuff isn't only because of Keeping It Realistic, because before the show joined the group or started in the group, we already had the Chaos Campus live show with an awesome Nikos and all the great guests that he introduced us to. Also, this year, two other great shows joined the community: the CG Architect podcast with Ricardo Eloy, who is interviewing talented people, and we get to watch this show a day before it's officially submitted or uploaded on YouTube. And of course, the Mike or Viz Academy. This show, by the way, doesn't really have a real name, does it? It's a pity that Mike left because I think it's time that this show gets some type of a name so that we can refer to it. But nevertheless, it's another great show that shares with us all those cool tips and tricks when it comes to modeling and rendering and so on. And of course, at the base of all this, we have Chaos, and especially people like Claudio or Slavka Stankova. I know her as Slavi, who strongly, really, really strongly, wholeheartedly believe in this community and eagerly support it. Unfortunately, at least from my perspective, unfortunately, Claudio will soon be moving on to a new professional journey, to put it in LinkedIn lingo. Why, unfortunately? Well, because of course I'm very happy for him, but Claudio's initial trust in the show was very important and motivating to me in the beginning because having such a live review show was a fairly new idea on its own, and I wasn't sure if this is a good one at all. And but he was so passionate about it, and he trusted it so much, and this in turn encouraged me to try it out. And once again, here we are, a year later, going strong. But yeah, dear Claudio, if you're watching this, you're not here today, but if you watch the recording at some point, thank you for everything. Um, I think the whole group are wishing you the best for your on your future adventures, and you're always welcome to visit us from time to time to see how awesome this community has gotten. Thank you very much. On the positive side, the awesome lady that you see to the right here, Swavi, will now be more present from the group, meaning that Claudius' team and Chaos is still perfectly represented with us within the group. So I would say let's welcome her by saying a warm hi. And yeah, we're happy that you're here with us, Suave. And certainly, last but definitely not least, thanks to all of you folks who made this possible because without you, without the people in this group, um, all of the the work put by all of this that you see here wouldn't mean anything. So thank you because you make a community out of this group. My mom says, and happy birthday from me too. It was very cool and interesting. It is still ongoing, but thank you very much. Flatson says, I believe that your treatment of us was a very inspiring initiative for us members. Theo, I dare say that you were the main person to make this group a real strong and active community. Thank you so very much. I had definitely played my role for sure, but once again, all of what you see here has also contributed a ton for this group becoming more and more special and more of a community. Okay, now it's time after we had this discourse in the past showing that we've been doing pretty good so far, and I think now it's time to take a peek in the future and see what it may hold for us. So from now on, there won't be very exciting images to look at, but I hope some very interesting topics to discuss. Just so you know, until some professional actually officially takes over the group, I will be semi-officially doing it. And now I want to introduce you to a few ideas about the group itself and the show that I discussed with both Claudio and Suavi and have their blessings for. So gladly let me know what you think about them. Swavi is here. I see she says, thank you, Theo, and hello, everyone. Hello, Swavi. Glad to see you here. I hope this introduction was good. If not, you tell me on our next talk. But yeah, it's time to share with you just some ideas that either I came up with or tells somebody like Claudio or Swavi. First of all, we have this is actually an idea that's already being implemented in the moment. It's the Chaos Campus community page as a part of the Chaos website. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Suave, but as far as I got it, a Chaos Campus specified Chaos Campus community page is being worked on at the moment. as a part of the Chaos website, meaning that soon we will be getting a very, very official representation as a part of the official Chaos website, which I think is really, really cool. I cannot tell you when, and I cannot tell you much about the exact contents of this community page, but I think that we will also have some power to define which contents we'll be getting there. So if you have any ideas, gladly share them in the group or directly with Chaos, so that we make this community page as cool as it gets. I'll just make a pause to read what Janita says. He says it's a great community to learn and build a network with fellow artists. Theo is doing a great work to build up the community to the next level, and his review show is very valuable for everyone in this community. I have learned a lot of new things from this group and the show. I hope the Chaos Campus community grows rapidly day by day. Finally, happy birthday, Theo. Cheers. Thank you very much, Janita. You have grown a lot as an artist, and it's a pleasure to see how much better your work has gotten every time you post something new. It's an image that I think should be one of the three images on the cover image of the next show. So good. So Avi says, I have submitted the pages for internal review today. Oh, so it seems like the Chaos Campus community page is soon to be released, which is really, really cool. And I'm very much looking forward to it. Next topic. These are now some future ideas, but I think it would be really, really cool if we had something like an image of the month or image of half a month. It's a stupid name for sure. We have to find a better one, but given that the Keeping It Realistic show happens on a bi-weekly base, so more or less twice a month, we can also not have only one image a month, but two. We just need to find a good name about it, and we should find what we as a group prefer. The way I imagine it is something like this. The 2 weeks between two shows, you upload your works as usual, and then I pick up to, I don't know, maybe 5 images that I really like, that I think are good contenders for image of the 2 weeks. And then on the following show, I introduce those 5 images to you, maybe explain why I picked them, and then you have another 2 weeks until the third show where you can vote about which one is the best one. And then on the third show, I just announce the winner and show you the next 5 images that you can vote for. The good thing about it is, or at least the way we envision it, is that the winner image should also replace the cover image that we have in the at the top of our group in the moment. It's been unchanged since the establishment of the group, and I think it would be actually pretty cool if we were to just put your images here instead of this really, really nice image by Beauty and the Bit. So gladly let me know, or let us know, what you think about this initiative and about this idea. Do you like it? Do you want to participate in something like this? Is it good? Do you want to do it on a monthly base or a bi-weekly base? Things like this. And I'll continue with the next topic, which is introducing activity rewards. Now, remember how in the beginning Emma was here today, and I'm very happy about it. Used to share some statistics with us at the end of the month. Um, Showing us who the campus MVPs are. I really enjoyed those. Obviously, I did. But we want to do something similar now. So so really point out who the most active members have been by the end of each month. However, in this case, we won't be doing it in the automatic way, because Facebook automatically creates lists like this. But the thing is that in our group, we have some artists that tend to do daily exercises, which they then post in the group. And because of this, they often end up being the first, second place, something like this, which on the one hand, there is, of course, nothing wrong with doing these exercises. It's a great way to learn and sharing them in the group as well. However, what we want to encourage through these rewards is the communication in the group, and also people providing feedback and constructive criticism, supporting each other. So what we want to concentrate more on is actually this thing here, the number of comments rather than the number of posts. So this will need to do this with probably Excel or something, but I'm sure we'll find a way to figure out who the most active members are in the end of every month, so that in the end of the year we will the most active users actually get a reward for being that active. This would be the way of chaos to say in the group and the community to say, hey, thank you very much. And these rewards, we talked about something like a 1 year license of software, render software of choice by Chaos, eventually some merge. So it won't be something insignificant. I think if you have a 1 year license of Vantage or Corona or Bira, Escape, whatever, I think it's already a pretty nice price. And eventually, for the maybe first one, two, three, some merge. We always got to figure out how it is with the merge, because sending it isn't a big issue. But a lot of you, depending on which country you live in, have to pay really hefty taxes, import taxes. And by the end of the day, it would be, of course, very stupid if, let's say, Chaos sends you a hat or whatever, and then you pay like, I don't know, $50 in order to receive it, because in this case, you probably won't be especially happy with this reward. Um, Amit says, image on the cover page can be bi-weekly, as everyone will get a chance one time or the other. Well, hopefully, it depends on the quality of your works. We'll have a voting once again. In the beginning, probably the voting will be happening in the group itself, but with time, we can maybe integrate it into the Chaos Campus community page, which would make it, of course, more official, give you also more exposure. It would be very, very cool if it happened, if it worked. Okay, um, fourth idea, it's the Chaos Campus calendar, which will be including dates of the Chaos event calendar simply doesn't have, something like the shows that we have in the group or some deadlines like the Arfis Masterclass competition that we talked about in the beginning. And I actually already, Amit, it was Amit who asked about something like this months ago. And yeah, then it is then when we discovered the Chaos event calendar, which is already pretty great. But I can think we can step it up a notch, and this is why I created a Google calendar, a Chaos Campus calendar in Google. And I will be sending you the link afterwards. You see a screenshot of it up here, and I will be sending you a link to it, so you can keep it either as a favorite, as a tab open in your browser, or if you are a Google Calendar user yourself, you can just press the plus button down here, and this will add this Chaos Campus calendar to your own Google Calendar. And the cool thing about it is that it will always be synced, meaning that every time I add some further dates to this calendar, it will also sync to your own personal calendar on your phone and all of your devices that use Google Calendar, which is pretty cool. And I don't want to say the word calendar anymore. Oh, I have to say it one more time, because, of course, we can also ask Chaos or Suavi or whoever is responsible for this to maybe integrate such a calendar into the Chaos Campus community page. This would be, of course, very awesome and very official, way better than a calendar that I made on my own. It says, good idea about the calendar, so it can be differentiated from the actual Chaos event and the Chaos Campus events. Well, yeah, I mean, in this current calendar, I keep saying this word, right? I actually have included both the Chaos events and our internal Chaos Campus group shows and deadlines as well. So it has actually both. And finally, I'd gladly reintroduce competition and challenges within the group. Suavi says, I'm going to think about how to integrate it. This would be really, really awesome, because it will, of course, be way more official and presentable, rather than, a tab that group members have to always keep open if they don't use Google Calendar themselves. Back to the competitions and the challenges within the group. I would, as I said, we would gladly reintroduce them. We already had two of those. They were actually pretty cool, but especially the second one, this winter competition, this was maybe a bit too much because it was around Christmas or around the end of the year for those who don't celebrate Christmas. And I saw that a lot of you wanted to participate but simply didn't have the time to. So I think if we now make competitions just from time to time with manageable, smaller scale topics and enough time to compete, something like 2 months, for example, I think it should work. And if you're eager to also participate in one, I think the next one I Mario says he loved the first one. Of course you do. You won it also. But yeah, I mean, I plan to eventually have one for the months of October and November because it's still not the end of the year. The ArcVis masterclass competition will be over by then. And yeah, eventually we can do this in October and November if you feel like it. This would be awesome. Okay, I think this was enough about the future plans for the Chaos Campus itself. Now let's take a look at the keeping it realistic. It looks like there will be a huge list here to the right, but actually we only have one topic regarding the show, but it's actually a major one because it will change a bit of the essence of it. So yeah, stop beating around the bush. How about instead of doing what we did so far, which was reviewing finalized works, how about we start reviewing projects that are still in the process of being created? Why? Because reviewing a finished project means that the artist has to go back to something they considered finished and reopen it and start reworking it. And let's be honest, this is something that most people simply won't do, which is, first of all, understandable. And second, sure, they don't have to. It's enough to just remember the mistakes they made and try to avoid them in future. But still, if there is a potentially better approach to providing feedback, um, why not try it out? So the idea goes as follows. We should introduce a day in the week, one day in the week, not every day, one day in every week where everybody shares, or maybe on a bi-weekly base if you want to, where everybody shares their work in progress state of their work. So it could be early phases like a modeling phase, clay models, unpopulated scenes, or scenes where you're unsure about a certain aspect. And then on this day, the community should be there to provide feedback. Let's call it a feedback Friday or a mentoring Monday or Tuesday tips. I don't know, something like this. We should make a survey on this topic for sure, because let's say it's Fridays. Okay, usually by the end of the week, group members are more laid back. It's understandable, but if it's Friday, let's say it's every second Friday, it's the work in progress day or the feedback Friday. So you share your work in progress images, ask for opinions, ask for feedback. I will be able to tune in only 4 days later. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday is when the next show will be, when I'll be giving you feedback, right? So maybe this is too much time between the day and the show where I'll be talking about it. So maybe it makes more sense to make it a Monday, like this mentoring Monday, where you will be sharing those things, and I am then a day later I will be talking about them and still have some time to prepare. Um, Mario says, "Whose work is it? Is it yours?" It's mine. It's mine. Um, and yeah, or we do it on Tuesdays. But if we do it on Tuesdays, of course, it's like the day when we have this day, and then I go live and start talking about this. But obviously, I won't have the time to properly prepare, so I will be improvising, and you have to bear with it. It's also okay. So I think that we should have those 3 days as options, and then we should vote about it. And by the way, let me say this clearly, this is not my original idea. As we were in Bulgaria for the Chaos Connect Day, I had a talk with Mike. We talked about the Keeping It Realistic show. And at some point, he told me about some Polish group where they do something similar. It's like a certain day where they share their work in progress, the current state of their works, and then everybody provides feedback. So all the credit for this idea goes to those people and not to me. But the goal is that you get feedback while we are in the process of creation. This is something that all studios that I know, all visualization studios that I know of, are actually doing. Once a week, they sit together. Everybody presents the project they're currently working on, the state they're currently in, and all the others provide feedback. This is also what Mir are doing. It says clearly in their book, and all the other big successful studios. And then they provide each other feedback, and then everybody goes to their place to work further on their stuff. And the obvious advantage here is that you we will be achieving an optimal outcome the first time without having to go back on an already finished work and reworking it. Now check the comments before we continue. Amit says, also, once in a while, you can share your work image tail for us to review so we can reverse the role. This is just for us to learn about your workflow and the thought that went through in creating a project. We all can learn from you, Theo. This is not a conclusion, but if you feel comfortable in sharing it, of course, sure. Just a thought, last time the image that you shared was a trait to see and learn from. Sure, I have already told you. You can just go to my page, you know it, and just pick an image, and you can always ask me. You can post it in the group or something, and I will always tell you everything there is to know about a project or an image. I never hide those things. Kama says it's a good idea to review work in progress. Mario continues, I would love to lay my eyes on this project. Yeah, you can see the final images of it on my page. But yeah, here are some production or making of images. Mario continues, oh, I wanted to see if there was a Behance of that project on the screen. Looks interesting. Love the composition. Yeah, thank you very much. There isn't. I haven't put it on Behance yet. I think it's only on my page. Um, yeah. So one thing which is very important for this type, if we decide to do this, if you like the idea and you're like, yeah, it's way better to talk about works while we're in the process of creating them rather than finishing them and having to go back to rework them. It's important for this to work. We have to follow some rules. So you need to properly describe your goals and your issues, and ask specific questions in order to get specific answers. So if you just come over and throw this model in there in the group and say, well, tell me something about it, then it becomes quite difficult, and most people probably won't feel like giving you feedback for it. Why? Because if you give me this, I wouldn't know what to talk about. Let's say I say, I don't like the building. I think you should make a flat roof. Well, but this is a building that you're supposed to present in the way it is. So if I tell you something like this, it makes no sense. But if it's like a personal project, maybe make it with a flat roof and it will look nicer. Same with the street. If I say, put some parked cars in front of the building, and this is actually a two-way street and there is no place for parked cars, this again will make no sense. I'll be just wasting my time and you'll be wasting yours. So if you want this to actually work, you need to really come prepared. You need to know exactly what you want. It doesn't matter in which phase you're currently in, but if you have questions or if you just want to share it to get some positive feedback, be specific about it so that people can also be specific with their responses. And yeah, folks, more or less, that's it. Here's once again the lists of ideas regarding the group and the show. Um, if you like the ideas about the group, we can start working towards implementing them one by one. Just tell us about it. And regarding keeping it realistic, if we're going to switch the reviews from finished to works in progress, I'll suggest trying this out as soon as possible in one of the next two shows. But of course, first we got to figure out how often we'll do this work in progress day and on which day. Is it going to be the day of the show or the day before or the Friday before? And even if you have watched the recording and wasn't able to be live during the show, still let us know, give us your opinion because it actually matters. It doesn't. There is no guarantee that what you say will be done, but it will at least be considered. So much I can promise. And with this, we are actually at the end of this presentation. That's it. I hope I didn't overpromise, or I hope you didn't expect much more from this special edition of the show. But yeah, I really thank you for your attention and for being so active in the comments and reacting and putting out your thoughts and opinions. This is exactly what the purpose of this show and all this presentation was. You can think about those ideas. I can also post this final slide in the group as well, just for you to have an overview of all these new ideas. And yeah, you can gladly comment what you think about them. As far as I can tell from the comments so far, it seems like you like the idea, but yeah, you don't have to immediately say yes or no. Just think about it and then give us your feedback. Amit says it was a good show and also the future plans are great and I think it would really work out smoothly. I definitely hope so. Um, Let me just once again leave this mode here. So I'll once again show you this and then I'll go back to my primary monitor. So here once again is this calendar that I told you about. Here down in the corner you can just add it to your own Google Calendar. I keep saying this word and I would never stop, but maybe in this higher resolution. Oh, here down in the corner you see nothing because this is where my image is. So here, this is where it is, button that you need. So yeah, of course, I had initially planned to also go through what has been posted in the group in the last 4 weeks because we have some really awesome works and also awesome posts in general. I remember one from Flatson telling about his story from, he's a SketchUp and V-Ray user and he kind of tried switching to 3ds Max and Corona, and think in the end he found a solution where he uses SketchUp, Max, and Corona as his workflow. So yeah, there is a lot of really good stuff that we have seen here. Some sympathetic newcomers like PG Studio, of course, Navid being different and alternative as usual. I really enjoy this. Some again really nice, high quality works, and this is what I told you about Flatson's showcase. It's a very nice one. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Something like this, just sharing such a showcase in the group, your experience while trying to switch a software. This is worth so much because everybody can profit from it. There is always an artist out there who is a SketchUp user and thinks, Corona, maybe try out Corona. For this, I need Max. Is it worth it? Will I like it? And something like this can help them so much. But yeah, I think we can still wrap it up. We don't have to always have 2 hour shows. This is also something that I think if I start talking about work in progress projects, I will probably I won't be able to go as in depth as I do it with finished projects, obviously. But this also means that I don't need to have to talk for 15 or 20 minutes for a single project. And in the end of the day, I will be able to talk about more projects and cover more stuff. And also the shows won't necessarily be as long as they used to, 2 hours and more. So yeah, I think it's really time to wrap it up. Thank you very much for being awesome and being active. Not only today, but once again throughout the whole last year since we started the show, and even before that, of course. Let me once again remind you about the deadline of the Arfis Masterclass competition with the bedroom and the client of your choice. It's a really cool one. It's a great topic. Even if you don't win, you have fun, I'm sure. So please give it a try. You won't regret it. I'm sure of this. And yeah, that's it for today. I would say let me just read Mario's comment, who says, very informative show. Thank you so much. Glad I slept early last night to be able to assist. I really appreciate it, Mario. It was a pleasure to have you. Tom Grimes says, great show and exciting future plans too. Thank you, Tom. Let's see how many of those we can actually turn into reality. I hope all of them. It would be really good. As usual, it was a great pleasure hanging out with all of you. Have a good rest of the week. I hope to see you again in 2 weeks at the same place and time. Stay safe, be healthy, rock on, and ciao, my friends. It was a damn pleasure. Bye bye.